Hello everybody, Andy here, and today we are doing the Patreon Q&A. Let's be super clear, this is not a advertisement for my Patreon. This is just something that I'm giving back to my patrons because as I have mentioned a few times now, if it was not for my patrons, I would no longer have a channel at this point. So very genuinely big thanks to them. With that said, what are we talking about? Well, basically every month now I'm trying to do a Patreon Q&A. On my Patreon, I just say, hey, any questions you guys want me to answer? They can be about anything at all. Obviously, people naturally gravitate towards Kill Team, so there will be a lot of Kill Team questions. In fact, all of them are Kill Team questions, I think. And just a bit of a chat, really. Anyway, with that said, let's power on. Or first, actually, what have I got in front of me? This is basically a long video that is going to be essentially no visuals, and just so you don't need to watch this. This is just going to be me rambling for I don't know, 45 minutes if I had to guess based on how much I talk and the questions I know I'm being asked. A lot of it is obviously just like, hey, what's up with Kill Team? Essentially. What do I have here though? Not Kill Team. I've got a Hammerfall bunker because I finally bought one. I have wanted a Hammerfall bunker since it released and I've just never bought it. I finally bought it, built it, and put it together. Obviously, because of Stargate. Stargate? No, incorrect. StarCraft. There you go. I also have Mortarion and a little dude because I'm putting together my Death Guard army for 40k at the moment. This guy is just super cool. I would like to get a 3D sculpt of this bad boy blown up to like larger than Mortarion, and he could just live somewhere. I think he's amazing. He's a great representation of, all right, let's carry on. And Mortarion's cool too. This is gonna go off the walls. Okay, so I'm answering these in the order that they were posted. No favoritism here, first come, first serve. But if you are a subscriber to my channel, I would like to give you a big double hello. Oh yes, a fabulous double hello. What is a double hello? Well, it's a pleasantry that's given to you twice. Why would we want two pleasantries for the price of one? Because we live in a capitalist society, and when you get something for free, you always take it. That wasn't very wholesome. That was just factually correct. Anyway, hey, if you like what I'm doing here, consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, all that good stuff. But this probably isn't the best first video of mine that you should watch. Go and check out my other stuff. So I assume that everybody here is within the cone of friendship, so you know what's coming at you, okay? Let's crack on, shall we? So first up we have Ed. 5 reasons Shatterpoint is better than Kill Team, and 5 why Kill Team is better than Shatterpoint. He did also say this might be its own video. I cannot give you 5 and 5, but I will give you 1 and 1. Because 5 and 5 I would need to go and sit down and do, as you say, a full, quite challenging video if I'm honest. Because despite the fact that I'm not really that critical a person, I have to really stop and think, why do I feel a certain way about something compared to another thing? So this kind of compare and contrast doesn't come naturally to me. I have to force myself. So one reason Shatterpoint is better than Kill Team is just so much more kinetic. And I've mentioned this before, of course, in the Shatterpoint. I really like the combat tree and how the game is not just about how much damage do my dice do. It's how many successes do I get? Okay, what do I need in this instance? Do I need to heal myself? Do I need to deal with as much damage as possible? Do I need to move around the board? And it's all done through an attack. And so I really like just how, in a sense, flexible that makes the game is, where a single dice roll is almost 3 or 4, 5 different things under the guise of you are dealing damage, which is really cool. I like that. Whereas in Kill Team, the closest you get to that is, let's say, with a Weber or like the comms boy from Commandos who does 1 damage, but you want that crit because you're going for a stun, right? Like, that's kind of the most you get, and it's It's not hugely interactive, it's just a thing, and you got to roll a 6, and it's like, fine. So Kill Team just doesn't really do that same thing. Oh, and the miniature scale. I really like how big the models are over there. Why is Kill Team better than Shatterpoint? I think the easy answer is community. You know, say what you will, Games Workshop is still the biggest game out there. So if you want to get a game in, you are more likely to get, you know, like on average, a game of Kill Team over Shatterpoint. But let's look at the mechanics, because I know Ed is asking about the mechanics. He doesn't really care about the meta. Why is it better? Kill Team has a very good, I should have thought about this, shouldn't I? The problem is I can't stop talking. I have to just power through with whatever my point is. Oh no, I've thought of another meta reason, okay, which is Warhammer 40k, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So I think the reason I really, it's such a tough one. I realise I'm stalling, but it's because I do really like Kill Team, but to sit down and define why is it better than X, very difficult for me. Because I've been playing it for so long, whereas Shatterpoint is new and fresh and shiny, I haven't been able to dig into it and say, here's why it's bad. Whereas of course, because I'm such a fan and lover of Kill Team, I can tell you all the reasons it's bad because I've played it so much. And I'm sure that if I was playing Shatterpoint for, you know, 2.5 years, I'd be able to do the same. But I suppose something that I like about Kill Team is that it's just I don't know, it's a good game. God, that was a terrible answer, wasn't it? Yeah, it's a good game. I generally, yeah, okay, I'm going to say it. Until I sit down and really think about it, I prefer the meta value of Kill Team than the meta value of Shatterpoint, which might not be great for somebody that wants to just know mechanically. Actually, no. You know what? Board size. I really like the size of Kill Team. It's a genuine kitchen table game, and also how fast it can play when you're really trying to play fast. I don't think Shatterpoint has that. Shatterpoint's a 3x3 plus so many cards. Like, you basically need a 6x4 table to play a skirmish game, which is insane. There you go. We then have Phil, or Tabletop Impulse. Which Games Workshop games do I play? Which would I like to play, and which would I never play? God, which do I play? So, Kill Team, 40k, that's it. In reality, those are it. Yes, that was easy, okay. Which would I like to play? So, I actually very much like Age of Sigmar. I have played Age of Sigmar, but I stopped. But I actually think Age of Sigmar is a better game than 40k. Now, the reasons I think that are of course quite narrow, in that I didn't play Sigmar for that long. I didn't get, you know, balls deep, but I got shallowly deep, I suppose. And so maybe I'm just missing something. But at the very least, from my perspective, Sigmar, I don't want to say it's more simple than 40k, because that's not what I think about, but that might actually be why I prefer it. You'd have to ask somebody who's better at games than me to kind of define that. But I really like Sigmar. I like the simplicity. One thing is, as I'm playing 40k, you know how they said this is the addition of no rerolls, or fewer rerolls than before? Everybody's rerolling everything. I don't know what they were smoking. Marines, always rerolling. Drukhari, always rerolling everything. Elves, literally, their core thing is everybody gets to reroll. It's actually ridiculous. Essentially, almost every faction has access to rerolls. I understand that rerolls are like mathematically like the best thing you can have, and that's why I want them gone. I want them to be ultra powerful things. For example, you take Guilliman, you get a reroll. Cool, excellent. I'm totally happy with that. Nothing else should give you rerolls. That's what Age of Sigmar does. There must be some rerolls, but there are, at least in the games I played, almost no rerolls. And once you get past that fact that you can't reroll your dice, there is something rather beautiful about just rolling your dice and saying, "Oh, here's what it is." Yeah, I very much like that about Age of Sigmar. Also, super cool models, obviously. Which would I never play? Oof. Never say never, that's for sure. I mean, throughout my years, I've played a lot of games from GW. Oh, Underworlds. Sorry, I'm going back a step. I would love it if Underworlds was a bigger, more popular game. Yeah. There are some things I really love about Underworlds. I love the scale. I love the miniatures. They're some of the best out there. I love that it's an even smaller board than Kill Team. I love that it plays really fast, but nobody plays it, really. Yeah. If it had a huge scene, I would probably be more of an Underworlds player than a Kill Team player, to be honest. Yeah, just fits a lot of the things that I like in a game more than Kill Team, in a sense. Although I really enjoy Kill Team, obviously. Right, which would I never play? Hard to say. If I had to pick one, Horus Heresy. Marines on Marines, historical future wargaming. Put a gun to my head and pull the trigger. No thanks. James asked, why don't I sell my dice? So for those of you that don't know, I a few months ago went out and just ordered some dice from a Spanish company, I think, called Moco. Anyone can do that. There's no minimum order, which was kind of the big thing from them. I really like Baron of Dice, but they have a minimum order of custom dice of like 1,000. So it would cost me like $3,000 to get dice. It's like, maybe you've misunderstood the scale of this operation, right? Don't quite have that, you know, not quite that liquid at the moment. Too much money tied up in land, you know. No. So I bought some dice. They're quite nice. I would happily, I just bought them for myself. I didn't really plan on selling them, so I think I bought 50, of which Kill Team needs 6. I could sell them if you want to buy some. I'll sell you some at cost, essentially, plus postage, I guess. Yeah, there you go. If patrons want to buy my dice, you can buy them basically at cost. But let's be clear, these were custom dice in small quantities, so at cost is still relatively expensive. But yep, I'm happy to do that. And it'll come. I'll do the standard Patreon thing where whoever's at the top tier, you know. So I basically sell top tier down. So you know, first come, first serve. Whoever pays the most, just as default, and then work my way down. There you go. Drop a DM, mate. Jack, that's me. I have just done a video about teams which need buffs, but what about good and bad rules in Kill Team in general? Follow up, and which games should Games Workshop look at to improve Kill Team? What about good and bad rules in Kill Team in general? So, my patrons will know because I posted a whole script of me doing the worst rules in Kill Team, and I never recorded it because before I showed it to my patrons, I showed it to somebody else, and they were very unhappy with that video, and I decided I didn't want to upset them, so I never did the video. However, I'm happy to tell you now the worst rule in Kill Team is track target. It's not worded to do what everybody thinks it does. It doesn't make any sense. There are so many assumptions in there, and it's only played the way it's played because certain people within the Kill Team community were told this is how it's meant to work. But that's not how it's written. So, cringe, mate. And which games should Games Workshop look at to improve Kill Team? Great question. The answer is Deadzone from Mantic Games. Let me tell you for why. There was recently a podcast called The Painting Phase, where they brought on a guy that used to work in like the hobby product creation side of Games Workshop, I think he said he left in like 2016, so we're looking at almost 9 years ago. I imagine that's why they just had him on, because his NDA probably just ran out at 8 years or something like that. So he was allowed to finally talk about some things and not be sued to oblivion. Although saying that, you know, like if you watch the whole of that, as many people have, because it's a good episode, very interesting, really enjoyable. You come away 100% thinking Games Workshop are brilliant. Like, everything he says is Games Workshop's amazing, basically. Which is fine, I have no issues with that. Like, he didn't say a single bad thing about Games Workshop, presumably deliberately, so that in case he was being a touch fast and loose with his NDAs, they wouldn't actually come after him, because he literally didn't say a single negative thing about Games Workshop. However, one of the things he mentioned was kind of talking about economies of scale as a big thing, and why Games Workshop, at least in his perspective, are okay with other companies that essentially feed off of Games Workshop. Games Workshop makes the most money out of new players. That's why Games Workshop has gone so hard into start collecting, starter boxes, etc. Because that's where all the money is to be made. Because if you've been in the game for 10 years, you don't need to buy anything. I do, because I have a serious problem. But even I don't need to buy anything. Like, I have a whole Space Marine army lying around. I could never buy another model from GW, and I could continue to play their game, and once every 3 years I'd need to buy a codex? Okay? Like, so ignoring me, but somebody that's been in the hobby for a long time does not make Games Workshop money. Games Workshop doesn't care about you spending £30 every 3 years. You're not a customer to them. You're a byproduct, right? Oh, byproduct. I should buy products, yes. So I thought that was really, really cool. You know, a very obvious thing for him to point out, obviously. But the reason I say, therefore, that Killteam should be looking at Deadzone is because I think that Deadzone is a better skirmish game for newer players than Killteam. Killteam, in a sense, you know, because we've got our little things, right, which are, as far as I can tell, to attract the board game crowd, aka a much more casual crowd than wargamers. Yeah, like, just Deadzone does everything better for a casual crowd. It's not as casual as Warcry, obviously, so it's not like they have deliberately made Killteam to be their entry to casualness game, but I just think Deadzone's just, for someone like me who is, you know, I'm not really that fussed about the tournament competitive scene. I just want to play a quick, fast game that's got some nice tight rules and I'm rolling dice in a cool setting. Deadzone beats Killteam every day of the week. For me and my tastes. Which isn't to say that Killteam's a bad game. But just from a raw, if I didn't have a channel, if there was no meta context, and I always had an opponent, and the models were the same, and all, you know, same quality, same atmosphere, all that stuff, Deadzone is a better game. And I'm a crappy beginner player. Deadzone is a better game for casual new players than Killteam will ever be. There you go. So just go steal all of their mechanics. There you go. Line of sight, super easy and kind of cool. Has crits, has everything. Deadzone's great. Okay. The models aren't. That's another topic. Right. Stooge Code has about 6 questions. He mentions, so I mentioned that I'm excited to get back into Killteam. Why, and what does that mean for the viewer? I just needed time off. I don't know, external factors. You know, I've been covering Killteam almost exclusively for like 5 years. I just needed to chill. Yeah, I don't know. Needed time off. There you go. There's really not any additional reason to that. If I had to dig deeper though, it could be because there's too many teams, and I'm feeling a touch disconnected from the current edition of Kill Team, which is odd because it's not that I'm playing the game less, I'm just, I don't know, just, there's so much out there. If you're a casual player, it's really hard to just keep in mind what everything that is in the game at the moment. And when you kind of reach brain overload, people switch off, right? I mean, that's what happens. You don't think, oh, I better learn harder. No, you say, okay, well, fuck that, bye. Like, that's the natural response to being overloaded. And that's kind of where Kill Team's at. So, yeah. Oh, I've lost him. Why? So why am I back into Kill Team? And what does that mean for the viewer? Why am I back into Kill Team? I don't know, just needed time off, there you go. I have no elaborations. What does that mean for the viewer? So, if you haven't noticed a difference in my content for the past few months compared to the last month now, then that just means I was doing a really good job at somehow still putting out content for a game I wasn't really interested in. So, thumbs up to me. At least internally, for me, I'm having much more fun right now making my videos, and I'm having much more fun thinking about making videos and content for Kill Team than I have been for the last, what are we in, 4 months or so. Yeah. It just means more videos for you. Or at least, hopefully, me being slightly less depressed in them, I guess. I don't know. Chris Backey made Blooded a success. This is still Stewed. Next question. Chris Backey made Blooded a success. Are there others out there doing the same for other low-level factions that I should be getting onto my channel to facilitate them helping the community via my channel? I paraphrased his question there. There are always lots of people that are interested in making smaller factions good. Survivorship bias. Chris Backey managed to do it. There are lots of people championing small factions that aren't currently considered good, and they will not be recognised as such a success as he until they have made them good. Because how many people came on and said, "Oh, you can, this is a great faction," and then that faction never became great, right? Like, you have to have the success before you can have the recognition. So possibly, but well, we won't know for another 6 months, probably, I guess. Should I have them onto my channel to facilitate that? Yes. Correct. We should. We should have more of that. I do intend to get back to my podcast, Vantage Point. I've just been dithering, to be honest with you. But yes, that is something that should occur, and a long, winding podcast episode is a great way of bringing that back. Of doing faction guides where I literally just sit down and say, okay, tell me how to win, and then I mute myself and walk away whilst they talk for an hour. So I shall consider that. Okay, but in addition to that, a thought I was having, and it's a video I'll do soon, is I want to do just a quick video kind of just shouting out every other Kill Team channel. Unfortunately, I'm no longer at the great heights that I was when I was getting like 10k views for just reading a Warcom page 2 years ago when Kill Team released. That was amazing, loved it. And I did it then. I shouted out other Kill Team channels and said, hey, if you're watching me, because at the time I was easily getting the most views of a Kill Team channel for just doing nothing, essentially, reading the news. I felt like, I did shout out other Kill Team channels then and said, hey, if you're enjoying this, go and check out other channels. We need more people to watch all the Kill Team channels. That's how a game grows its social presence, and there's a spiral effect. I'm no longer at that point where people really care if I shout them out or not, but I do feel like it's something I need to do. So I intend to go and find all of the smaller channels that are kind of you know, let's say under 5K, under 10K, whatever, and just kind of compile a list, just so I can do a quick video that shouts them out. Because at the very least, you know, it won't be an interesting video, it won't be a video that gets a lot of views, but those will be high quality views. So, you know, I'll struggle to get 1,000 views on that one, unless I can think of a really good clickbait title. But whoever watches that will be highly likely to go and check out those other channels. So I need to compile a list and do that, and I want to do that. So, and hopefully one of them, or multiple of them, will be a channel that is, you know, championing a certain team. So that's something I need to get on. Cool. He also asked, best thing for end users, it's you guys, to do to influence FAQs and balance. So, there is an email where you can send all of your questions, and I suppose you could also send balance suggestions to GW, and as far as I know, they do get that. I don't think they really respond to people, but that's not the intent. The intent is that it goes to this kind of mailbox, and then at FAQ time, the kill team devs go to the mailbox and say, okay, forward us all the emails of FAQ questions. So that's kind of, that is the official way to get your questions answered. However, the unofficial way is that I should probably bring back my FAQ channel in my Discord, because, yeah, I mean, that just makes sense, doesn't it? I should probably do that, because I know multiple, yeah. So I think I know every single playtester, none of which I shall reveal who they are. Not because I'm not allowed to, just because, you know, it's their decision if they want to make that public or not. But I believe I know every single playtester, and multiple of them have asked me to bring back that FAQ channel. Because so basically that FAQ channel, when the edition started, the kill team devs reached out to me and said, hey, this is a cool community resource. Would you mind if every 3 months when we do an FAQ, you copy paste all the questions there and put them into a Google Doc, and then we will look over them. And that was cool, because that was like, although that wasn't the official way to submit questions, I knew 100% that every question I put into that Google Doc got looked at. Not all of them were answered. Some of them didn't need to be answered, because they were just people not understanding the game, and that's not the point of an FAQ or errata. But 100%, every question was looked at. As we're now going into year 3 of Kill Team, for whatever reason, that is no longer a process they wish to continue with. They have not asked me to do that. Me specifically, it was me that was putting all of that in, but then I stopped because they didn't want me to do that anymore. I assumed the playtesters were doing it instead, I guess, and so they didn't need me, which is fine. It wasn't a particularly fun process for me to enter all those FAQ questions, frequently asked questions, into a Google Doc. It wasn't particularly gratifying for me, so I was fine with that. But it was, I can't remember when, it was like 3, 4, 5 months ago, I don't know. It came to my attention through ways and things that they weren't looking at the questions anymore. So I felt like it wasn't really worth, I don't know, I didn't want to make my community feel like they were putting in this time and effort to get questions 100% answered when I could no longer guarantee they were being asked. So yeah, there you go. Which is a shame. However, as mentioned, since that time, multiple playtesters have all asked, can I bring the FAQ channel back? And they will 100% make sure that the questions get asked. So I should probably do that. When it comes to balance changes, I think that makes less sense. I could put up a, frequently asked questions and then balance requests like balance changes, and I could be really strict and say, no discussion, just put in a balance change that you think is needed. And you might get some really good, interesting community balance like discussions and thoughts on that. But people in general aren't very good at knowing how to balance a game, or even what is unbalanced. And so I think it would just be noise that isn't really adding anything. Even though you might sometimes get, almost by accident, or because one particular submitter is very good at knowing it, I think it would be too much chaff, to be honest with you. So I suppose if you really want a balance change, you should put it into the official GW FAQ. We then go to Super Cow. He keeps hearing that we have a year left in this edition of Kill Team. Why is that? So it is speculation, let's be clear on that. Nobody knows for sure. Some people know for sure, but not anyone that's going to say it out loud. It's just because currently GW is doing all of their games on a 3-year cycle. That's it. And we know that this year is not a new edition. It's the 3rd season. Potentially we could have a 4th season. We don't 100% know that it's going to be Kill Team 3. It could be Season 4. We do not know. However, track record, it's going to be Season 3. There you go. No, Edition 3. Sorry, not Season 4. He also asks, speculation for how they do this edition's team in the next edition? Oh my god, I've got no clue. Let's think. So, yeah, I obviously have no clue, and I'm actually quite worried. From what I can tell, there are kind of 3 options. One, we get, none of them are good. I want to be real clear on that. I can't think of a good way of doing this at all. They could, okay, so let's look at Warcry. Warcry recently had to do exactly this. What Warcry did is they got essentially the compendium, right? And that was it. And every team continued to be legal. And they had a very minor rules update to fit in with the new rules of the next edition of Warcry. But essentially, just, yep, teams continued. Cool. There are so many teams. There are so many teams in Kill Team. Don't get me wrong, I don't want my models to be invalidated, but like, I need less team. I need fewer teams, my boy. There's too much going on. It's not very... Anyway, there's too many teams. The other thing is, I suppose we could like do compendium as we have the compendium. So we just get the compendium, which would still include like generic models for every faction so that the 40k players could play. But we then also get, presumably, the specialist ones from this edition of Kill Team, but just strip out all of their special rules, you know, so no unique tac ops or whatever. And that would be such a huge compendium book. That kind of a similar issue, but almost the worst of both worlds. Because you're just nerfing every model you have. Sorry, not nerfing, but like removing flavor from every model you have, but still keeping the same number of teams possible to be played. Absolute horrible. Or you've got obviously the nuclear option of can't play anything. That's not good either. I actually am very curious to see what Games Workshop is going to do, because I don't think there's a good option. I think either you're making everybody unhappy by removing all of the specialist teams and going back to like compendium we have now and like generic models from 40k to keep the 40k players happy, but then you're pissing off all the Kill Team players, or you're keeping so many teams in the game. They're like, well, why are we having a new edition? Like, what's the point? Tough. I really don't know. I don't think there's a good answer, if I'm being completely honest with you. Finally, we have Chris. He asks, will I have more boarding action content? Boarding action content, so... Oh, he also suggests maybe I should do it on lone operatives, which is, I think, so obviously I'm talking to my patrons more than I talk to the general channel, and I've been considering doing a second channel that isn't full-scale wargaming because I burned out and that's dead, but is another channel which I intend to just be super, like I probably won't even plug it on Glass Half Dead. It's just me doing what I would fancy doing, just like still image battle reports, podcast, no editing obviously, yeah, that kind of thing, like things that I know I'm never breaking 1,000 viewers, right? Subscribers, I mean. It's like, I'll stay down here, that's fine. I think I won't call it lone operatives though. I've given it a lot of thought. Branding's important, you know. And I think I probably will go with tactical skew. Yeah, because, you know, eventually 40k edition is going to change. Lone operatives will stop being a keyword. And sometimes I want to do other content that doesn't, you know, other games like Firefight. Currently I'm quite interested in Firefight. Or maybe I want to do Kings of War, or Infinity, or Shatterpoint, or Age of Sigmar. Lone operatives doesn't really make sense over there. So I'll probably call it tactical skew. There you go. Oh, sorry, boarding actions content. He suggests that maybe I should do boarding actions content as a suggestion for over on the other channel. I have not paid attention to boarding actions content since 10th edition turned up. Because at first I was thinking, oh great, well I'm obviously just going to do Combat Patrol, right? However, having now played a game of Combat Patrol, that is not balanced at all. Games Workshop lies its fucking arse off. I'm going to throw it out there, guys. They just talk shit, absolute bollocks, when they're doing their Warcom promo pieces, right? They're like, oh, this is a rigorously tested system. We know exactly. Oh yeah, this is. Each Combat Patrol has been tested to be absolutely brilliant and complete, perfect symmetry and balance. Nothing but lies. Don't get me wrong. I understand they can't balance 40k. I get it. That's fair play. Super difficult. Combat Patrol is a closed system, and it's specifically targeted at new players. I genuinely think Games Workshop is stupid AF, as foretold, for not actually putting some fucking effort into Combat Patrol. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at what they've done with Combat Patrol. It's not the point. Let's move on. So, since I had my eyes set on Combat Patrol, I didn't really pay too much attention to boarding actions. I thought that Combat Patrol was going to kind of overtake that as like the beginner format, whereas before, boarding actions had been the beginner format for the end of 9th edition, which was a slightly weird concept, but it's fine. So now, with Combat Patrol being a complete failure, perhaps we should be looking at boarding actions. The truth is, if I get super mercenary about it, I believe that boarding actions, because of the very, very niche, specific requirement of terrain, will not be a format that continues to get views, I mean. Like as a one-off video, like how to begin 40k, fair enough. But as a regular piece of like battle report content or something, no. However, with that said, I think there is validity in how to play or why to play boarding actions in 10th. I think that's a very fair point. 500 points is a nice little size of game to play, and you still get a little list building in there, which I don't think is mandatory. Again, I loved the concept of Combat Patrol. I really liked no list building in there, but clearly GW screwed it. So, you know, it's a nice little size to begin with, but again, for me, boarding actions won't be a format I stick with for particularly long, to be honest with you. 500 points is kind of too small for me. Like, playing the game is going to take as long as setting up the board, because that's how boarding actions terrain goes, right? So, like, why not just play the 2K game? Or the 1K game, if that's more your speed. Yeah, there you go. Cool. That's it. That's all of the questions from my patrons. If you would like to get your question answered, give me money. Ideally, on Patreon. God, that sounded too mercenary. Sorry, that was meant to be a joke, but it was harshly true. If you'd like to support me and everything I'm doing here, consider checking me out on Patreon. I occasionally give additional content. If you sign up at the $10 tier, you get access to a whole bunch of cool, like Glass Half Dead themed data cards, both in a Magic card style and in a kind of more traditional Games Workshop style, like layout of thing. So either portrait or landscape. And you also get access to my objective markers, which actually I have here, which obviously I print out on, oh my Jesus Christ, which I print out on acetate. Oh God, hold on, there we go. But you could, I just give you the file and you can print it out onto anything you want, either like this, you get a nice cool see-through marker, or just on a piece of paper, does exactly the same thing. I think they're absolutely mandatory. Not mine, just you need those objective circles. They're really super useful, genuinely. They're like the first game aid you should buy. And I give you the template for free. Well, for $10 a month, sorry. So consider going and checking that out. There are higher tiers as well, but I don't know what I'm doing with those. They just exist. Cool, so thank you very much. Go check that out. If you've watched the whole of this video, as an additional thank you, not just to my patrons, not just to my subscribers, but to anybody that made it this long, I would like to give you a big triple hello. The wholesomeness knows no bounds. That is simply an additional thank you from me to you, because, hey, without my patrons, I wouldn't have a channel any longer, for sure, that's true. But without just my regular viewers, even if you haven't liked, subscribed, and commented, if you've just watched the whole video, you do you, my sir. You do you. That's all I need. That's all I need, genuinely. So thank you very much. There's quite legit no better way to support a small channel like mine than just watch the whole damn video. Genuinely. Yeah, so if you'd like to have your questions answered, consider supporting me on Patreon, where once a month, roughly, I will ask this. And finally, I don't know when I'm releasing this, so just know that soon, maybe already, I'm going to start doing regular live streams. I'm currently thinking just on Sundays, see how it goes. Most of them are going to just be me talking. Occasionally, I might do a battle report, or I might do a hobby thing, I'm not really sure. And that's it. Cool. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day. Stay hydrated. I've been talking for 43 minutes and haven't had a single sip from my Glass Half Dead branded water bottle, but I hope that you have. Goodbye.